Salem Tostar. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Singer Dad Reacts. My name is Josh, and I'm happy to be back doing reactions. Thank you all for patiently waiting for me to get back on track. I've got a new green screen and got the setup all dialed in and excited to jump back in here. So I thought I would go ahead and do a Dimash reaction. This is one that you guys have been requesting for a long time. Hopefully I'm pronouncing this right. Samel Tao from the Tokyo Jazz Festival in 2020. So I'm trying to stay true to what I started out with, which is to stay on track chronologically with Dimash's development as an artist. And this is kind of next in the timeline. So I did my research, as I'm prone to do, on this song, and it really has an interesting story behind it. Apparently, it is telling the story of a young soldier, kind of around the time of the World War I. So in World War I, Russia was in dire need. There were mandates given to other countries, such as Kazakhstan, to provide supplies, such as from their fields and food and things like that from the farms. And also there were actual orders for young men to, go and join up as part of the Russian army. And that's where this story comes in for Samel Tao. So this young man was, who it says is around mid-20s, was one of those that was supposed to go and report in to Russia. And so this young man made this journey to go and report in and be a part of the Russian army. So that's my understanding is kind of the story behind this song. It's from this soldier's point of view. So the next step in my reaction, for those that are familiar with my channel, is I go ahead and I read the lyrics for the song. So those of you that are not interested in that part of my reaction, feel free to skip ahead directly to my reaction. For those that are, so from my research, Samel, from the title of the song, means a gentle breeze, and Tao stands for mountain or hill. And from what I found, this song was written by Dimash. So if there's some other songwriter that should be credited with lyrics or helping on the song, please let me know in the comments below. And the translation that I got, I do try to do this when I can. I try to get the actual transcript from the video where I'm doing the reaction. In this case, they did provide the lyrics within the transcript, in the description area for this particular video, for this performance. So that's where I got these translated lyrics from. So hopefully they're accurate. So it starts out, "My dearest motherland with its immense lake, I wonder what my days will be like when I become a soldier. Thoughts of you arise over and over in my mind. My precious land where I was born and came of age. I'm not riding, but walking slowly. Not even walking, but dragging myself. I have been straggling for 15 days. I am approaching Omsk, which I believe from my research is where he's supposed to go. I'm twice a dozen years old and was born in the year of the ox, forced by the will of fate to travel to distant lands. Samel Tao. My precious motherland, I have left you behind. We are like a lost herd of horses gone astray. I have both my mother and my father. They are of advanced years. What drove me to sing this song is the mourning and heartache of the year 1916. Samel Tao. My dearest motherland with its immense lake, I wonder what my days will be like when I become a soldier." So that's interesting that he's really trying to tap into those feelings of dread and apprehension that I'm sure, come with someone in this situation where they know they're going to be part of an army and possibly facing death and leaving their loved ones behind. It's very ominous. And he mentions his parents here, that they are, getting old, and he's feeling a lot of mourning and heartache from having to do this. And I love some of the descriptive words used here, and I'm not sure again, like the translation, but I have been straggling for 15 days. That's interesting that that's the translation that came through for that. Because straggling is more kind of like, you're not just walking with purpose, you're just really dreading each step as you move forward. You're not really wanting to go where your feet are taking you. You're just forcing yourself to move on and move forward with where you're going. So that's kind of what I pick up from that. And then I'm not riding, but walking slowly. Again, another thing that kind of says, hey, I don't really want to be on this journey. And I like how he kind of talks about my precious land where I was born and came of age, because now he's going to go fight in a foreign army, right? It's not like he's going to fight in a Kazakh army where, he would feel more loyalty and respect and honor toward, his country, his native country. So that's an interesting point that came out through the lyric there. So those are my thoughts about the lyrics. I'll move on to the reaction. So again, thank you for your patience, and I wanted to reward you, all the dears out there, with the Dimash reaction, and I want to get back on track and start doing more videos. I'm going to do at least one or two more here within this week, just to kind of, get things back and going and kind of reward you all for waiting. And so if you have other artists or other performers that I've reacted to that you want me to do more reactions for, be sure to let me know down in the comments, and I'll definitely consider those as I'm deciding what to react to further this week. But again, also, for those of you out there that if you haven't already, if you could please click on the subscribe and the bell notification there so that you can be notified of any of my new reactions. I would appreciate that. Thank you. Dimash Samultau. Oh wow, is this a Kobiz? It looks like it. Oh, that's eerie. He's playing with his finger kind of under the string. That's interesting. This looks like the same gentleman that played it for The Stranger, for that song he did. Oh, wow. Those are interesting instruments. It's an interesting instrument. I wonder what this guy is doing over here. If you could comment on some of these other instruments that they're playing in there, that would be great.
kölgene Ne bolar saldat bollamaynan Kurgin künüm ay Yezemev Kayta kayta tüsüdürdü
Interesting. He's using a singing style where he's kind of doing this like kind of that style where you're kind of bouncing the larynx, kind of bouncing the sound a little bit there. And I think it's more kind of from the Kazakh style, I think, and you guys can comment on that, but I know he's used that before in some of his other performances. This is like my 34th reaction, I think, to Dimash. So I've definitely heard him do that before. But if you could kind of clarify on that for me and just if that's kind of a Kazakh thing with the style there, with the voice and what he's doing. And I believe I've got the right video here. It says Tokyo Jazz Festival. So I was envisioning kind of like a live performance in front of an audience. So hopefully this is the right video here for that. The one that you guys have been requesting. I looked through all the comments and this is what you said was from the Tokyo Jazz Festival 2020. So hopefully this is the right one. Anyway, very interesting. Let me go back a little bit. See how he backed it off where he's talking about the precious land? You hear how he's kind of like the rhythm and this is one of the things I love about Dimash and other performers is when they kind of, the music takes on what's going on in the lyric of the song, right? So like he's kind of doing more of a plodding type rhythm because he's talking about, walking and, trying to get to his destination, right? And the other thing I noticed was he backed off when he's talking about, my precious land. And so he's adding a lot of specific dynamics and rhythmic choices that give the song texture and match the story that he's telling with the lyric. And that's the sign of a really gifted performer and someone who's taken a lot of time to think things through and really, tell the story of the song and with impact, right? I like that. Let me go back here so we don't miss anything. Hear that? It's really plotting. This is a cool. Oh wow. Forced by the will of fate to travel to distant lands. I assume that last part that he sang where he kind of backed it off a little bit is where I have left behind, right? So my precious land, and then he's really kind of somber and sad about that he left behind, right? So he's declaring my precious land and then that I left behind, right? So again, it's adding feeling and dynamic and, telling the story. And he's doing all this sitting down. He's sitting there and not in the most ideal position. He's sitting with his legs crossed. And that, for me, in my experience, is not actually super easy either, as far as kind of opening things up with your diaphragm and making it easier to support and all that. So he just makes it look easy. You can hear the cry in his voice right there. This is the part I was talking about. See, he grabs his heart and exhales. Sorry, that might be a bad time. I'll rewind it to make sure we get it. He's the king of being able to just, and this kind of reminds me of Ave Maria, where he's just doing like on an ah for the entirety of the song, and yet it still sounds so majestic and beautiful, and has its own kind of energy. And story arc with the way that he chooses to do the runs and the way that he sings through it, right? And the same thing is happening here, right? The other thing I wanted to point out is, if you listen closely, and I'll rewind it here, he's right in time with the instrumentalist, and that's not easy when you're doing like on an ah and all that, and you're doing a lot of runs and movement within your voice. It's not always easy to have everything right on with those who are accompanying you. So listen for that when we go back here. But yeah, he's amazing. Let's see, maybe here. See how the music's... He's really feeling the rhythm. Nice resonance right there. That was cool. Oh. This is almost like a prayer where he's looking up to the heavens. Wow. That was excellent. That was really good. Again, we've come to expect from Dimash, and I know I have, just amazing things with his voice and with his artistry and his interpretation of the song and the variety of different things that he can do at different points in the song, from changing the timbre of his voice to changing the style and the genre and the breathiness and, all of these different, the rhythms. He's the master of all of that. And he did quite a bit of that in this performance as well. And you could tell it was a story near and dear to his heart. And I think part of the way you can tell with that as well is when he writes something, when he takes the time to really like craft a song, and ties in something about Kazakhstan and his native land and all of that, and at that point that he's put a lot of thought into it. He's very patriotic about his country. I've seen interviews with him and heard from many of you about it, and that he's really loves Kazakhstan, and he's trying to really bring a good name to the country and represent it well. And so props to him for creating this song and telling this story of this poor young man that was put in this situation. And it's something that has happened in many countries where our young people are asked to fight in the wars and to risk their lives to protect our freedoms and our countries and all of that. So, and I have multiple members of my family who served in the military, and my older brother fought in one of the previous wars, and I'm very grateful to all of them and all who have sacrificed for their countries. And so this really resonates with that, and Dimash just, did crazy things but yet he didn't. And I love this about him, that he doesn't feel like every performance he gives, he has to cover 6 octaves and do all this crazy stuff. He can just sit there and tell a story and put the feeling behind it. And, that's awesome. That's the sign of a true artist, someone that understands that it's not about, doing flashy things with your voice necessarily every single time. It's about, telling a heartfelt story and really putting your feeling and your effort into making it a powerful performance. And so I'm grateful to Dimash for that, and grateful to all of you for suggesting this, and continue to give me suggestions. So this is from 2020, I believe. So let me know if there are any others from 2020 that you really love that you want me to react to. If you feel like you'd rather have me move forward to 2021 and move on in his timeline, then let me know. It's not that I'm never going to come back and do other Dimash songs from earlier periods of time, right? I mean, I will come back. I just want to get to his newer stuff, because I know a lot of you are really anxious for me to get to some of his newer stuff. And so I want to make sure I just focus on kind of those gems, those amazing performances that he has that are from each of these different years in the timeline leading up to the present day. So give me your suggestions down below, and watch for more reactions this week. And before I close out, I'm going to end my reaction the way I do with all of my reactions, by reaching out to all of you around the world to let you know that you are special, you are loved, and you can accomplish your dreams. And I really believe that, and I hope that you have supportive people in your life that encourage you and seek for your happiness and your safety. Thank you again for all of your wonderful support, and take care.